You just tuned in to Up for Discussion. This episode of Up for Discussion is brought to you by Ultra Products. Ultra Products is nearly a 4,000 square foot archery shop located in Fairfield, Illinois. They carry a full line of bows including Matthews, Bowtech, Darton, Bear, and Raven. Ultra also has a fully equipped service department that works on all types of bows. Come into Ultra Products and let us take care of all your archery needs. All right, we are here at Ultra Products for Up for Discussion. This is episode 10.
Oh, I'm breaking double digits.
Yeah, that's right.
Big time.
I feel like we need that horn.
On our way to catch Mr. JD Huitt.
Yeah.
Just a few.
We got a long way.
Just a few episodes behind.
So episode 10, and this week we're tackling business and talking about building up online presence. And there's nobody that I know better for that than JD Huitt. JD was with us last week, gave us a intense rundown of the history of hunting, and he's back this week to talk to us about what it is to build your online presence. And man, we've been working hard at that for a long time, haven't we, Lathan?
Trying to build a brand, yeah. I guess is that the terminology?
I guess. I don't know if we're talking to an authority on this or not,
Oh, we are.
but I'll tell you. I mean, just my experience. You know.
Well, and that's what we're asking for. So, for those who this is your first time watching, we just like to say we appreciate you tuning in. If you guys are regulars and you've not followed at this point, we are cutting you off. No, I'm just kidding. At this point, you guys need to be liking, sharing, following, commenting. If you guys have questions for JD or anything like that,
Or Doug.
Doug, we always appreciate when you come on.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here most of the time.
Yeah,
Doug's
most of
like
the
our Chavez or whatever. I don't know. So,
Oh, I love it.
we are glad when Doug's on. He always keeps things interesting. So,
Yeah.
I try. That's what I
So,
do.
for those that may just be joining, this is Doug Doty.
yeah, Doug
Hey.
Doty and JD Huitt.
JD Huitt.
So,
And,
and this is up for discussion.
This is going to be up for discussion.
But
Gonna
before we
discuss-
get too crazy deep with things, I know JD's brought several things that he's going to show us. We'll do that towards the end.
All right. Cool.
And also, for those who don't or didn't catch last week's episode, kind of give us a rundown on what you do and even your channel.
Yeah, sure. So, I have a YouTube channel that is called The History Underground that started in the spring of 2019. I'll be honest, the birth of the channel is kind of an accident. I have a background in video production, mainly in the hunting industry. And one time on vacation, my family and I stopped at the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, and also, teach history at a high school level. And there they have a B-29 bomber from World War II called Boxcar that dropped the bomb on Nagasaki. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just get out my phone and kind of film this. And when we start talking about World War II, I'll show this video and show them, this historically important artifact, and maybe it'll add something to the class, give something to break it up. So I got my phone out and filmed it and showed some different things, and then kind of turned it back on myself and was, kind of teaching to the camera. And when we got to talking about World War II, I showed that video, and when it was finished, my students said, "Hey, that was actually pretty good." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, thanks."
It's like what you said earlier.
Yeah.
Kind of an accident. You did good.
Yeah. And,
What did Bob Ross say? That's a happy. That's a happy little accident.
Yeah. So they said, "Hey, you're always traveling and doing stuff. You ought to make a YouTube channel with this history stuff that you do, and the places that you go."
Out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah,
That's right.
And I thought about it for a second, and I said, That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Out of the mouth of JD.
Yeah. I said nobody would ever watch that. And they kept hounding me about it. And I finally decided, I was like, well, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. If, it provides some value to other educators that they can show their class and kind of do like a little virtual field trip type thing, then maybe it'll
And
be some
just
good.
your class alone, it would.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So that's what I went into it with.
Yeah.
And then it's gone far beyond what I ever planned or expected it to.
That's interesting.
And it's outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you say
outstanding.
far beyond, just for those watching, because they might hear, well, this guy does YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's put some, numbers to it. How many subscribers do you have, or subs for the kids out
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, the odometer just rolled past 600,000.
600,000.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And just in the short brief talking to you earlier, it costs nothing to subscribe to your YouTube channel.
This is true. So we,
Doug,
Yeah,
for all those over 60.
Doug's like, I really want to subscribe to History Underground, but
Yeah.
just don't have the extra finances right now.
yeah, for those who are listening to the podcast special right now, where subscriptions to the YouTube channel, the History Underground, are free.
Have you considered doing a premium?
Yeah,
I'm serious.
it would also be free. Oh
What-
wait, you're talking about
on YouTube, because you can do a YouTube premium.
yeah,
It's like $1.99 or $2.99 a month.
yeah, where
I'm out.
And it's
Does
just
that.
all it is cost sharing basically, and you get a portion of it whenever you signed up for it.
yeah, it's where it's
Is that what they
it's
talk
like
about?
special content for
Absolutely.
people who
Oh,
are
so they get something
it's
special.
channel membership, I think is what
Yeah.
they call it.
Gotcha.
So I have that option available.
I'm surprised you've not done that yet. I mean, you put out such good content and so
Then those
much.
people that say they can't afford to subscribe, you would have to say, well, there is a cost.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not
No,
everybody.
not to subscribe.
Yeah.
I got you. I see.
Yeah.
It's something above.
Yeah, so the subscribing is of course free, but then they have what are called channel memberships.
Yeah.
And you can pay a certain amount to get extra content. So that might be in the form of they have something on YouTube called a community page, which is kind of like a Facebook type thing where you can communicate with people. You can have stuff that only goes to channel members, and you can
Trippy.
so you can provide content and everything like that. I also have a Patreon page where people who want to support in that way, which that whole thing was kind of a weird start too.
So do you have your own website?
Kind of. I have a
Kind of is not an answer.
I have a website domain registered, and I had a website that kind of got started, but I never honestly just didn't follow through.
So
with
I
it.
saw that there was the girl wearing your T-shirt
Yes.
at the last show.
Yeah.
So where's someone get some
Oh, okay.
History
So
Underground
yeah,
swag?
JD
Yeah,
Huitt
some
merch.
the
Yeah.
historyundergroundstore.com.
I want
Yeah.
one with just your face on this front of
No,
it.
that will never happen.
Oh, come
Never
on.
happen.
That's
Yeah.
not right.
The whole thing has been so surreal, and this is going to sound disingenuous, and people are going to think that I'm making it up, because I put 2 to 3 videos out a week where I'm pointing the camera at my face. It is so uncomfortable to me.
Really?
Yeah, so uncomfortable.
You'd never know it.
I tell
Yeah.
everyone you're my favorite ex-Amish friend.
JD stands for Jedediah. But back when we done videos, you was on. When I say videos, we made hunting videos.
Yeah.
You started with 3. Was it 3 Timbers?
Yes.
3 Timbers. We were Team Harvest. We kind of rubbed elbows
Right.
in that field.
Mhm.
Then you move on to other TV shows, stuff like that, and then we end up somewhat all together with Hallowed Ground.
Yes.
We
And
can't
then-
keep away from you, man.
And then we're all together again on Full Draw
Full
Adventures.
draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now you've got this thing going. But when you
Now
were
you're
on
coming
those,
to us.
I was getting ready to say, you guys want to start shooting some history content? We'll put it up there.
Something
We've
like
gone full circle.
something like that. But what I was going to say was, I never watched you and thought he looks uncomfortable on the camera. Now that being said, I watched plenty of guys that were either in our group and
Very
then some in your
uncomfortable.
group
Yeah.
that are like they're uncomfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah. I guess
so you're
when
saying internally you still feel uncomfortable.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, 100%. Yeah, the idea of, and again, this is going to sound disingenuous, but the idea of attention being focused to me is it's still really weird to me. So on the channel, if there's an opportunity for me to point the camera at somebody else, like at a historic site or something like that, I'm always trying to look for somebody to say, hey, why don't you talk about this, or you talk about this? But at the same time, I also have to realize that people are watching the channel because for whatever reason, well, maybe, for whatever reason,
your face on a t-shirt would sell.
no,
all day. I'll put the first order in. Whatever.
Maybe for white elephant gifts at Christmas it would. But
My question
well, I
is,
didn't say for
what's
what
the
for.
tagline? Like, if he had a little blimp above his head, what's he saying? Those who don't learn from history are due to repeat it.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah. But at the same
Just
time, I
with
realized that.
I mean, you have some sort of logo and stuff. I'm satisfied to some degree. Just
Yeah.
your face and
Yeah.
the logo would be awesome
yeah, that would be awesome.
on the back. Or
Who wouldn't want
like we're
that?
going underground today in history? Something like that with a little comic thing coming out of your mouth, little cloud. With
I
today
can
we're
see
going-
this.
Yeah.
JD, you've never thought of this?
No, I have not.
All right. I'm
So-
sorry.
so
I'm
in-
taking the conversation.
It's not necessarily wrong, though, because
Yeah.
we're talking about branding.
Mhm.
And in the realm of branding, I mean, merch is definitely an important part of it,
Yeah.
because ultimately, anytime you're doing branding, you're doing it for the purpose of business.
Yes.
Or growing a platform for yourself,
Yeah.
or
Or I like to think of it as forming a connection
yeah.
with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what other ways do you feel like you've done that outside of YouTube, I guess would be a question for you.
Oh man, outside of YouTube.
Yeah.
As,
Here's the thing, where you just went to that show, that's a connection that you're building.
Yeah.
Like you're coming in contact with a lot of people that they know who you are, correct?
Yeah. Through the YouTube channel. And for people who may not be aware, the show that you're referring to is something in Louisville, Kentucky called the Show of Shows. It's kind of like a big military artifact trade show thing.
Yeah. After seeing your posts, I want to go to it next year.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. For like 2 days.
What's the cost to get in?
I don't know.
We all know that you didn't pay to get in.
Yeah, I mean, when you show up with that face,
building a brand.
Here's what I'll say is it's worth it. I can't remember what the cost is off the top of my head. But for 2 days, this convention center in Louisville, Kentucky becomes the largest museum in the United States.
So what all do they sell?
I mean, it's
Guns?
like
Guns,
people's personal collections. Is that what it is?
yeah.
Like,
So there's things that
It's a history flea market.
it's a history flea market. That's
There
a
you go.
pretty decent way to put it.
Yeah.
And you'll see all kinds of crazy things there where you just like, man, I can't believe that like this exists and it's here. So a lot of stuff from the Civil War, tons of stuff I saw this year from World War One. World War One seemed to be like a big thing this year. A lot of World War II stuff, both Japanese, German, American, a lot of things like that. And then you'll see a little bit more in Vietnam, not as much, but I've been seeing more in recent years. So anyway, where on the channel, yeah, I'm dealing with history, and then I also have a series called American Artifact that deals strictly with artifacts. A lot of the people who come to that show, there's a decent chance that if they've got on YouTube and they've looked up stuff, they've come across my channel.
Yeah.
And so each year that I've gone to that over the past 3 years, I've noticed increasingly more that people
People know who you are. The first year, did you have many people recognize you?
Decent amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's getting significant.
Now you have to have your
I
own
would.
Entourage.
staff.
Yeah. He's
No.
a pretty big deal.
Do you need some bodyguards?
Big tall guys going like this. No, not
Space.
not right
You need
now.
space.
Yeah, not right now.
Here's how I look at
He'll
it.
be signing autographs later.
Did you sign any autographs while you're there?
Yeah,
Man,
you did.
this is
Oh, I can
uncomfortable.
tell.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man,
I
wanna
love
give you-
this.
That's
That's a
awesome,
pat-
man.
that's
Good for
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed by that.
Here's
because it was
what
an accident.
here's what it,
He didn't even do it. It was an
Yeah,
accident.
yeah.
what does excite me, even though there's this level of discomfort that I have. What excites me is that people are getting excited about history.
Yeah.
And if I look at that number, 600,000 subscribers, to me, that's 600,000 people who have hit a button because they have expressed a passion for history. And that's encouraging to me.
Yeah.
Because
It's
I see the
encouraging
value
to
in it.
me because I feel like people who value history, gosh, how do I word that?
Well, I mean, if you value history, you value what got you to where you are,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad.
I,
And
I-
if it's bad, you're like, hey, we need to make it.
Let's not do that
Let's
again.
we not
And-
do this
Right.
again because that led to this down through time. Maybe it took 100 years to get here. I would think if you value history, you value what got you to where you are.
well, and maybe JD can speak to this, but I feel like there's a contingent of people that are all the time trying to push history or change history,
Mhm.
and that being the case, man, all the more kids and even people our age need to know what the past has held.
Yeah, 100%. And that's for several different reasons. One, understanding the past helps you to better understand the present. And also, I tell people that when you're studying history, what you're really studying is human nature. So the more that you learn about the more you learn about history, the more you learn about human nature. The more you learn about human nature, the more you learn about yourself and the people around you, and it can help you to navigate the world better. So I deal with a lot of young people,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I've seen in an increasing amount in the past 20 years are kids who, trying to think of a delicate way to put this, are saying that they are debilitated by their anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever pressures it is that they're
Sure,
facing,
that's
things like that.
I'd say that's
Yeah.
real, very real.
So-
Today. More so than maybe ever.
So we can look at this, and somebody can say, "Oh my gosh, I've got anxiety today." And I don't want to minimize that or anything like that.
Right.
But then you can take the story of, like, a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago named Reed Stevens, who was a machine gunner in the 7th Armored Division of World War II, and was taken prisoner by the Germans at the Battle of the Bulge and was walked all over Germany for the remainder of the war. Like, is your day worse than his?
Yeah.
Probably not. And he got through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can look at all these examples of these people who have gone through adversity and have gone through trials and have gone through different tribulations, and they were able to overcome it. And they're made of the same material that you are. You can look at business successes and okay, how did these people get from here to here? So the past helps to inform us about the present, and it also has a personal application as well. That hey, yeah, my situation's bad. It's not as bad as some other people, and they lived.
Who's the greatest interview that you've had so far?
The greatest interview.
Yeah,
that I've
I
had?
mean,
That's a tough
an
question.
interview that on the back end of it you were like blown away.
Where I interviewed someone. Oh, you're talking like as far as World War II veterans?
Yeah.
So
Because
that
you've done a bunch of that, right?
yeah, I've done
Because there's
quite a few.
how many left? They're
It's a
getting few.
dwindling number quick.
It is a increasingly dwindling number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting few and far between, because I can remember when I was young, like when I say young, like 12 or 13, people would be like, oh, look at so and so, he was in your church or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's, he was at
Right,
such and such
right.
in World War II. And I mean, I can't think of any right off the top of my head.
My
now.
grandpa was a German POW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And whenever I was in high school, I interviewed him, and I really didn't know a lot of the stuff. But he opened up to me really good, because a lot of times they won't.
So I guess,
Right.
yeah. So
he told me stuff that I was just like, wow, that's fascinating.
right.
One thing was he was in a German POW camp for a year, and he said that every day they ate turnip water.
Yeah.
And that was it. They just basically they threw one turnip in a pot of water, and that's what they got.
And just rendered it to pieces.
Mashed it up to nothing, and that was their food. And he said on New Year's Day there was a tractor that pulled in, and he said he could tell that tractor was pulling something. And he said he remembers just looking through the window of his cell or whatever, and he could see that they were pulling a dead horse that I don't know if it had died on the battlefield or where it had died, but they were pulled in this dead horse. And he said it was bloated and disgusting. And he said they ate horse that night. And he said that was one of the best meals that he in his 90 years. Because at the time he's telling me this, he was in his 80s at the time. But he said, I can vividly remember how good that horse was. And you saying what you were saying about the youth of today, we even us, we have no idea.
I was getting ready to say, I apply that to myself too.
Yes.
Because
we can handle it. We can
handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are amazingly resilient.
When you get down to the nitty gritty. Well, I guess we need to let you answer the question, the interview. What was an interview that you're like, this shocked me when I got done, or is that how you asked it? Yeah.
The one with Reed was, and of course I'm biased because he ended up becoming like one of my best friends. And every time, he
was the machine gunner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In the 7th Armored Division. And he frustrated me so much because I interviewed him that first time, and he did not want to do it.
Yeah.
And the way I finally he told me, he handed me a newspaper. I went over to visit with him. He handed me a newspaper. He said, everything you need to know about me is in that article. I looked at it, and it basically said he was in the 7th Armored Division. He was POW. That was it. And as we sat there and talked, he told me the story. And I was like, hey, Reed. That wasn't in the paper.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, my grandpa passed away a few years ago. I said, and I remember all the stories that he told me when I was a kid. I said, and I've got all those stories in my head. I said, but my kids don't.
Yeah.
And he said, he said, all right, you just come back with your camera and we'll talk. So I came back and I interviewed him. And it was a hard interview. Like I was with him on his deathbed, and to the day he died, he had nightmares every night.
Wow.
Was deeply affected by the war. So he interviewed me, but then in my subsequent visits, he would always tell me a little bit more. I'd be like, Reed, why didn't you say that when I had the camera rolling?
Yeah. Didn't think of it.
Yeah. And he's like, well, you didn't ask.
Yeah.
Well, when you're in a war, I've got to think every day is an event.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of boredom too.
Yeah, I've heard
there
lots
is
of stories
but
of maybe not of World War II, but different wars. Are like, yeah, we hurried up and did nothing for
a
lot.
It's a lot of hurry up and wait, but
yeah. But then all of a sudden,
yeah,
you're in the middle of it.
So there were some pretty crazy stories that he had. Just this past weekend, spent a lot of time with a P-47 pilot in World War II. His name's Ed Cottrell. And last March went over to Europe with him and went to the airfield where he took off and flew missions out of and everything. He's 102 years old right now.
No kidding.
and sharp as a tack and gets around good. He's an incredible person. But he has a pretty cool story where he was flying close combat support missions, and a couple of German Me-109s, I think, if I have the story right, came in and he got hit and didn't know if he was going to have to bail out or anything like that. So he's trying to figure all this out, and he said he thought that he could make it back to his air base. All of a sudden, these two German fighter planes come in, and they get right behind him, and he thought, well, this is it.
Yeah.
And they saw that his plane had been hit and had been debilitated, and that he was kind of struggling to get back. And they ended up just escorting him all the way back to the line.
Wow.
And then peeled off. Had the opportunity to kill him,
Sure.
but they thought, okay, he's been taken out. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Escorted him back, and then he got back to the airfield.
He's trying to limp.
Yeah.
Trying to limp back.
Yeah. So that's another fascinating one. I interviewed a guy who was a forward artillery observer in the Philippines. Watched from a ship on the USS Missouri as the surrender was being signed. And then he was transferred to a prison as a guard at Sagamow Prison, and guarded Tokyo Rose and Hideki Tojo. He sat and played gin rummy with Tokyo Rose, and had the job of pre-stretching the rope that Hideki Tojo was hanged with.
Wow.
He's an old farmer.
Yeah.
About 30 miles from me. I met him just out one day. I saw a World War II hat when I started talking to him.
Pre-stretching the rope.
Yeah. But yeah, all kinds of stories that I've collected. I've interviewed women who were in the Hitler Youth.
Yeah.
Well,
because I'd rather hear your stories as talk about building a brand.
Yeah, we've kind of veered off from the brand.
I was fascinated when Desmond Dawes, was it his son?
Mm-hmm.
Sent you the letter or whatever. That was pretty neat.
Yeah. So people who have maybe watched the movie Hacksaw Ridge, which is the story of Desmond Doss, conscientious objector, who became a medic in the 77th Infantry Division, fought in Guam and the Philippines and Okinawa. I went to his grave in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and did a video about Desmond Doss and his grave and some of the other graves in there. And ended up getting a message from Desmond Doss's son and saying, hey, thanks. I really enjoyed the video. Thanks for honoring my dad.
Yeah.
I think is really nice. Yeah. And then I went to Guam and went to the place where Desmond Doss landed, where he saw combat for the first time.
Huh.
Yeah.
So in the realm of what we were talking about, building a brand, how do you come to, how do you determine what your videos are going to be about?
A lot of it, honestly. So I have a broad range of interests. I don't know why it is, but I have just kind of a naturally curious personality. Now, if you watch the channel, it looks like the only thing that I'm interested in is the Civil War and World War I and World War II. But there's a broad range of interests that I have, and I always want to know what I don't know.
Okay.
So not too far from me, it's closed down now, and I'm sad. But we had the vacuum cleaner museum not too far from me, and I always looked at that and I thought, well, that might be kind of interesting because I don't know a whole lot about the history of vacuum cleaners.
I bet it sucked.
I was thinking one of these guys.
Yeah, I was just waiting.
So I was thinking about it.
A lot of what you see on the channel is just me being curious. So if I'm reading a book and I get to something where it says, I don't know, let's just take Gettysburg, for example. And it talks about the 26th North Carolina was in, McPherson's Woods and yada, yada, yada. Well, I'll look at that and I'll be like, I wonder what that looks like now. So I'll put the book down and then I'll get out my computer and go on Google Earth and start kind of researching and looking and
find McPherson's Woods
and find out where McPherson's Woods is, and let's see what it looks like today. So it just kind of arises out of curiosity about everything.
Was it Gettysburg, or was it maybe Antietam, where the blood was at their knees?
That's probably an exaggeration.
Okay.
From somewhere.
Well,
so
one of them's a valley, right?
I'm
trying to think which battle that they said that about.
Yeah. So yeah, that was probably a post-war exaggeration.
Yeah.
About blood up to the knees. Now, I've been in plenty of places where there's blood stains all over the floor.
Yeah.
To this day.
You would think there would be even places where, how ground has layers. I bet there's a layer where you can tell where stuff happened there.
Something bad happened.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
for sure.
If you have a battle there,
yeah,
you know that there's enough blood that it's like, that was bad.
So there's an interesting story kind of connected with that. Okay. We're talking about branding, and I keep telling just history
that's
stories.
That's all right. I mean, we'll get around to it.
If we never get back around to it, pursue that.
Your brand builds itself.
It does it. It's like you said. It feels like an accident.
Yeah.
Now tell your story. That way, we're safe now.
Yeah,
we're good.
So there was a brigade of Confederates led by a guy named Iverson at Gettysburg. And long story short, on the first day of the battle, they're advancing across the field, and I can't remember the Union regiments off the top of my head, but they're basically behind a stone wall waiting for these guys, and they're advancing through a cornfield. Wait, was it corn at the time? I can't remember. Okay. Anyway, they're advancing through this field. They don't see the Union soldiers, and right at the last moment, these Union guys pop up, and they just mow these guys down. There were accounts later that said that you could stand at the line of Confederates and see, it formed just like a straight line with these guys with their toes straight up in the air. Just murdered these guys. Okay. Well, in the Civil War, when there was a death, they just buried them right where they were at. And then later they would be transported to other places, to like a common grave. Well, the Confederates at Gettysburg just were buried in people's fields for years until they were buried or reinterred down to Hollywood Cemetery, a lot of them in Virginia. But anyway, the farmer who owned that ground later planted a vineyard there. And later on, you could buy wine that was made from the grapes that were grown in what was called Iverson's pits.
Wow.
So you were drinking wine from grapes that were fertilized by
the blood of
dead.
Confederates.
Yes.
I bet it sold well.
I'm not sure that would be my favorite brand.
Now, I've messed that story up a little bit, but that's the basic gist of it.
I don't know why. I'm trying to think of a wine lingo. I'm glad I don't know any, but I don't know. I was trying to throw something out there that would be funny. But
so all of that. So again,
but that's
it's stories that interest me.
Yeah.
And I have a broad range of interests, and so really whatever catches my eye is what.
So at no time you were ever stumped with what I'm going to do this week.
No, I'm always.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: what's your schedule like?
My schedule is stupid.
How far out are you booked?
As far as my travel?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of a constant moving target. So right now at this moment, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be traveling to France. There's a group of high school students that approached me and asked me to take them on a tour. I might do a little bit of filming there. I'll be gone for a week. And then at the end of May,
turn to France.
Do you ever do lives?
Like in the field?
Yeah.
No.
Why not? You just appreciate the fact that you can edit?
Yeah.
Would it Is that something in your mind that would taint the rest of the show? It's like,
Okay, so if we're talking about a brand, here is the feedback that I have received from people is one, they, for whatever reason, feel like I'm accessible.
Yeah.
I'm not like
They're really wrong.
we're back to your face.
Yeah. They'll watch like a professional historian on like the History Channel or something like that, which I love the History Channel, so I'm not knocking that at
Yeah,
all.
Sure.
But most of them
But-
seem closed off for sure.
But they'll, okay, maybe I should say this. An academic, they don't feel as much of a connection to, whereas with me, it feels like they're getting the information, but it's rather you're just kind of hanging out with your buddy and you're
Yeah.
going to a battlefield and he's telling you the stuff that he knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. Also combined with the fact that people say that they appreciate the, I guess, kind of the cinematic nature of the production. So they appreciate the production value,
Yeah.
as well.
You
Which
did
is-
one down in Chattanooga right before me and my kids and my wife went down to Chattanooga.
Mhm.
And that was really neat for us to watch. You know, you were there, the fort there that's up there on the hill or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, up there on Lookout Mountain.
Yeah, Lookout Mountain. Yeah.
So that was a lot of feedback that I got this past few days at the show of shows. I had a lot of people coming up and saying, "Hey, my wife and I went to Normandy, or we went to Gettysburg, or we went out west, and your videos helped so much because we could actually see it and we could visualize it, and then we could go there ourselves and then experience it."
Have you had anybody from Google reach out to you?
No.
Because Google, there's been talk that Google is getting ready to do a thing that where while you're driving, if
Mhm.
you pass a historic monument, they have basically like some sort of commentary that can come up on your radio,
Oh.
tell you about the place.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I knew a guy who was working on something like that a few years ago.
They're trying to tie it into Google Maps.
Okay.
You know,
And Google's doing that?
that's what I've been told.
Interesting. I wonder if the guy that I had communicated with connected with him in some way.
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so
So
as far as like,
you get feedback that
oh, I get lots of feedback.
Some of it's terrific.
but you're just alluding to the fact that you've got lots of feedback. Probably the way I hear what you say is like that maybe somebody else feels like they talk over their head.
Yeah.
And then you're like standing in the spot and you're just like, it's like Doug.
Yeah.
Telling us about North City.
It's fascinating.
I was wondering where that was going to
Yeah.
go.
You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is it's just not
Yeah.
over your head. And I guess you said production quality.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
your
where
production quality is really good.
that's
Oh, thank you.
where you as a film editor, all that you've done, you've kind of probably let that bleed over into this.
Oh, definitely.
Because you know what? You probably learned by trial and error because you've edited for you're starting out with Three Timbers. You
Mhm.
edited in for other TV shows, hunting shows.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned what people like and you've refined that all those years. And now
Yeah,
you
you've
can
done commercial work. And a
Yeah,
lot
I've
of
done.
different
Yeah,
things.
I've done a lot of
you
commercial
can
work.
incorporate.
Done a lot of TV shows in the hunting industry. And I'll tell you what. So when if I go back and see some of the very first work that I did editing, oh my gosh, horrifying, absolutely horrifying.
I think
That's
people
how
would
it
say
is.
that about
Where-
everything they've ever
Yeah.
done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like if I heard my first sermon ever preached, I'd be like, man, take that guy down, get him out of the pulpit or something, whatever it was.
My partnership with Joe Sir on Hallowed Ground Out, I think, sharpened my skills and made me better.
Yeah.
Like he had a lot of creative insights that I think unlocked some things for,
What's
for
Joe
me.
doing these days?
He's still working his production company, and
Is he doing stuff for Matthew still?
yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
thought.
Matthews and
QAD maybe.
I don't know. I don't want to say in case he's not anymore.
Yeah,
But I know that he stays busy for sure.
that's
But-
good. Is it still Risen Media?
Think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on sometime. It'd be great to talk to you. So,
Yeah, I need to call him and catch up.
yeah.
But he definitely unlocked
Kind of an
Some-
artsy side of it.
so
or-
yeah, some creative
Heartland
potential that
Bowhunter was changing the game.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's where your style kind of leans towards.
Yeah,
Like,
I would,
and I'm not saying
I think
that-
that's fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you've taken that into an area that really didn't have that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, Ken Burns, his stuff is a different style.
Mhm.
You know, like most of the historians that are out there today, their style is drastically different than your style.
Yeah. Well, and I think that again, a lot of this is just dumb luck. So again, I'll lean on some feedback that I got from some other people. When I first started the channel and was doing like the history travel stuff and everything like that, there's a history podcaster by the name of Alex von Sternberg. He has a podcast called History Impossible. He said there's a lot of people who are doing history YouTube channels. He said, but there's nobody who's doing what you're doing. Now again, this was complete accident. I didn't go in thinking, you know, hey, I have a genius idea that I'm going to execute.
Sure.
I just kind of took what we were doing with Hallowed Ground Outdoors and some of the other stuff, and then I just kind of moved it into the history world.
Yeah.
The only difference is I'm a one-man band and didn't have a cameraman or anything like that.
So would you consider yourself a historian at this point?
No.
At what point do you become one?
I don't know. But I would consider myself a history enthusiast. That I'm
Okay.
somebody who's passionate about history.
Well, I mean, what's a historian?
Yeah, probably somebody who does research and does academic work and publishes work. I would say is probably more of a
You
historian.
just
So,
described
so you're,
yourself.
I was going
Pretty
to say,
much
so
to a
you're a
T.
historian. I mean, you
Yeah.
may not be publishing books, but today's book is digital anyway. It's a you.
Yeah, I still wouldn't consider myself a historian. I mean, I do some research.
Well, I think
but-
you'd have to because I've watched your. It's not like, well, I'm out here winging it. It looks like.
It's a sandy beach.
I heard this is
Yeah.
where Gettysburg was, you know, or something like
Yeah.
that. The battle. And all
They
that.
call this place Normandy. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, I'm genuinely passionate about history. And again, what I've been told is that bleeds through.
Yeah.
And that people look at that and they're like, man, that's how I feel. The other people around me, my friends, my wife, or my husband, or whatever, they don't feel that way. But yeah, I watch your channel, and I feel like we're friends.
Yeah.
We feel the same thing. Another friend of mine, Paul Woodage, told me he said the thing with your channel is there's a sense of wonder about it.
Yeah.
He
I
said-
agree with that.
He said you're just kind of going around from museum and this place and another.
It's like you're discovering.
and
Yeah.
I'm discovering, and that's really what it is.
Like,
Like-
oh, check this out. Look, they've got these shoes from so and so.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah. So when you see that's what's happening is
yeah.
in most cases, I'm seeing that stuff for the very first time, and you're getting my natural reaction. So I mean, what is the appeal of the show? I don't know, maybe authenticity, which I think everyone is searching for. But
So, what is the best content in regards to viewership that you found?
World War II always performs pretty well.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they know people that were engaged in it?
I think that we still have
A remnant.
a remnant of World War II veterans. There's that human connection that we still have.
Yeah.
It's not stories. Like we know, hey, my grandpa died 9 years ago,
Right, that's what-
and he was in the 1st Infantry Division, or my grandma was in the Women's Army Corps, or something like that. So there's still that human connection that we have, and for guys our age whose grandparents were in the Greatest Generation, we still have those stories that we can tell our kids, even if our kids didn't know. So there's still that connection there that you may not have with Civil War. Now, Civil War content usually does pretty good on my channel as well. But
let me throw this out there and see if it hits for you. Have you ever considered doing like Industrial Revolution or anything like that?
100%. Yeah.
Like I could see where that would connect with people.
Yeah.
Like auto industry might be interesting because it'd be cross,
Yeah. So I have aspirations, and I don't know if I'm going to do it this year or next. That's not with Industrial Revolution, but something that's kind of outside of the lane of military history, which is kind of the rut that I've got myself into. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm going to start in Chicago, and I'm going to travel the whole length of Route 66 all the way to Santa Monica, California, and hit a bunch of stops along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of get some stuff outside of military history, and I also want to go to places that
there's some places
history.
on Route 66 that you're going to be like, yeah, there's nothing here.
Yeah,
but also there's places where it's like there used to be something here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah. Some everywhere has something that's happened there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was kind of thinking, just going back just a little bit, but you said you've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 600,000 followers or more. How slow a start was that?
Okay, yeah. So the progression, that's kind of a weird one too. So I started the channel in May of 2019, like I mentioned. I would have to go back and look at the exact dates, but in the fall of that year, I published a video that I did at Arlington National Cemetery. That was and again, I have no idea why it happened. Stuff with the YouTube algorithm and everything like that, I can't explain it. For some reason, that video caught traction and took off. That was my first big spike that kind of brought in a decent number of viewers.
How long had you been at it at that point?
4 months.
Yeah.
And did that continue, or did it level back off again?
So it spiked, and then it kind of came back down. But and when I talk about spikes and things like that, I'm talking about numbers of subscribers and views.
Right.
But there's a little there's still that slow incline that was happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe there'd be another video and then it spikes again. Where things really took off was in May of 2020. I got an email from YouTube, and it said, "Congratulations, you've been selected as YouTube's Creator on the Rise." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I mean, okay. Well, that was nice of them." And then I went on about my day. I had no idea what that meant. Zero clue. Turns out, I guess that's a big thing, because what that meant is I was put on their trending page, and holy cow, that's when the things went wild.
All right.
That's when it really, really spiked.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a shot of adrenaline into the channel, and then it's been steady growth. But I was talking to somebody over.
So that's a year in.
That was a year in. Yeah.
A year in.
All right.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, man.
Well, here's the deal. Like things we talked about earlier. If you're a year in, even in the beginning, was you doing 2 to 3 videos a week?
I started off doing 1 a week.
Yeah. So then you start getting traction. It gives you incentive to, hey, I could throw another one out there.
Yeah. Well, honestly, what compelled me to start doing like multiple episodes a week was I would go someplace. The channel makes it look like I'm traveling just constantly. What it is I'll go someplace for a week and I just film like crazy from daylight till dark, and I pull in a lot of content. So what was happening was I went to, I don't know, again, we'll say Gettysburg, easy example for me to use. Go to Gettysburg and I filmed 25 videos. And I'm looking at my channel, I'm like, wow, if I do 1 a week, that means that we're on Gettysburg for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, man, people are going to get tired of that. I'm going to get tired of that. I'm going to be filming other content in that time. So I thought, well, I'll just start doing 2 a week.
The danger also, though, and tell me if I'm incorrect, you don't want to dump everything real quick because then you lose viewership.
I have
so,
found
though?
Well, I mean, you can do, let's say you do jump it up to 4 a week. That's fine. But if you said, all right, I've videoed 25 videos, I've got them all edited, I'm just going to dump 25.
Not
you're
all
not
at
getting
once.
the
Right.
benefit.
And not
out
get
of
the
it.
I see what
mileage
you're
out of it,
saying.
yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Again, that's kind of a weird thing too. But yeah, I do try to let a video breathe for a few days
Yeah.
before I stack another
I see
one
that. Yeah.
on top of it.
Do you do shorts?
Yes. Not a lot. To be honest, I haven't noticed that shorts has had a big impact on my channel. But I know some people who have experienced a lot of success.
Yeah.
I don't think that YouTube has quite, and they're working on it, so everything's always a work in progress. I don't think that YouTube has found a good way to translate long form content viewers into short content viewers and
Yeah,
vice versa.
Yeah, they're two different people.
So I have a friend who has a channel called Sander VK History, and he went from like 10,000 subscribers and was celebrating and everything. He was doing a lot of shorts.
Yeah.
And they were good. There's a lot of then and now photos. He would hold up a photo of an old photo or hold up a photo of a
Yes, I know exactly
old
who
photo.
you're talking about.
Yeah. And then he would
and
drop,
they just drop it
and then show what it looks like now.
Yeah.
All of a sudden his channel just exploded and it ramped up to like 90 some odd thousand subscribers. And then he ran out of content and it stalled.
Yeah.
But his short form content, he's been really frustrated because it hasn't translated over to viewers on long form content.
Yeah.
I've had just the opposite.
Yeah. Your
scenario.
long form. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody comes for my
for
long form content, but yeah, not the short form.
For people listening, you're saying shorts and longs. I mean, it kind of self-explanatory, but what's a short?
A short, you're looking at 2 minutes and under. And a lot of times they're in a vertical format. Whereas a long, usually that's correct, right?
Yeah.
Vertical format. A long, a lot of times is horizontal, and you're talking at least 20 minutes or
20
more.
minutes or more.
Yeah.
Well, the short form content is limited to 1 minute.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So YouTube Shorts is limited to 1 minute vertical video. And then when I'm talking long form content, I'm talking like any video that you would put up normally on YouTube.
Now I've poured myself over YouTube and monetization and algorithms and Mr. Beast, he always says you want basically to hit the whole gamut. So the way that we video, tight, medium, wide.
Mm-hmm.
He says you basically want to do that with your videos as well.
Yeah.
So you want things that are short in the 1 minute range. You want things that are between, he said where he hits major is in that 5 to 9 minute is huge for him. And then he said beyond that, you're talking long format.
Yeah. I have always tried to keep my content in the 10 to 15 minute range. Now I have some videos that have gone up to like 30 minutes. I've tried to keep them in the 10 to 15 minute range. And it's not because I'm trying to hack the algorithm or anything like that. It's because I want my content to be used as an educational tool.
Yeah.
And most teachers don't want to show a video that's 40 minutes long. They want like a 10 or 15 minute video. They can get in there, show what they want, get that punch in, and then continue on with the lesson.
Oh, you're saying you want your videos actually in the classroom is kind of one of your heartbeats. Maybe.
Right. That's 100% why I created the channel. Yeah, was to be as an educational resource, and that's still the main driving force today.
And when we were in school, I mean, all we ever watched was Ken Burns.
Yeah. The days when the teacher would wheel in that TV and VCR on the cart, man, that was a good day.
But I mean,
that's
Ken Burns' Gettysburg video. You're talking. It was eating up 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
So long content for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I love Ken Burns and I love his work. That's I don't know if that's the most effective way to teach a classroom.
Yeah.
I think breaking a lesson up with, a few short videos here and there and with primary sources and all that kind of stuff.
But for the 90s in that setting,
sure,
it worked.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We're going to take a short break. We've got a video for you guys to check out, and we'll be right back. So here we are, nearly 9 weeks into Up for Discussion podcast. And Lathan and I would just like to say thank you so much for all those who've been watching week in and week out. It means a lot to us, and we greatly appreciate it. However, there's one thing that you could do that would help us out tremendously right now. And what it is if you're watching on Facebook, like, subscribe, comment, share. All those things help to push us up and to let us not only stay in contact with you, but also to make sure that we can grow this channel in an efficient manner. If you're watching on YouTube, one thing that you can do is you can hit the bell up at the top. That bell will subscribe you to our channel on YouTube. So anytime that we upload a video, you are the first to know. All those things will help us not only grow the channel and the page, but also continue to bring fantastic outdoor entertainment to you guys at home. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're providing you guys with not only knowledge, education, but also entertainment. So sit back and we're going to continue Up for Discussion podcast. We're back here on Up for Discussion with JD Huitt. JD's our guest for this week, and he was on last week. Really good episode. We were talking about business and building a brand, and I feel like so far it's been good. For someone who's just tuning in, if they are someone who is trying to build a YouTube channel or considering it, what's some advice that you would give?
One, I think that one of the factors that has helped my own channel is consistency.
Okay.
So from day one, there has been a video every week. With the exception of maybe one time that I can think of where there was an incident that happened that caused a disruption in the flow of content. I've had at least one video every week, and now it's 2 videos a week.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that consistency that I think gives people something that they know they can come back to. There's a reliability factor.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. If there's a Little Debbie snack cake in the cupboard, and I know that it's there all the time, I'm consistently going to come back because I know that I can go there and get fed.
I forgot.
Right?
I forgot you were the. I forgot you were the Little Debbie snack cake. Yeah.
Another big one is just patience. That this stuff takes time.
Yeah.
And it looks different for everyone. So when I started my channel, it was kind of a unique niche of traveling to historic places and pointing the camera at yourself like a moron and looking like a fool out in the field and everything. And since then, and I take this as a great compliment, and I love seeing YouTube populated with history content. But there have been other channels that have sprung up in the years since I started my channel that are kind of doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
They're traveling to historic places and they're making these videos and doing it in a kind of a similar style. And I love those channels. And I look at them and I'm like, man, this channel should have more subscribers. I wish more people were seeing, this content because it's so good.
Do you ever promote channels from your own?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I try and I promote other channels more than I promote my own. As you can probably tell from this awkward conversation that we've had, I really struggle and am uncomfortable talking about myself. So I would much rather tell history stories and talk about other people and what they're doing rather than my own stuff. But being patient and enjoying what you're doing, regardless of what that stupid little counter
That's tough
says.
sometimes.
It's very tough because you look at that as like the validation for what you're doing, and I fall in that same trap now.
Yeah.
I put out a video this morning, and it's such a I loved the thumbnail. It's one of the few times that I've created something that I was happy with. I looked at
Do you
it.
build your own thumbnails?
I do everything myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another, I am deeply dissatisfied with most of the stuff that I put out.
But I think that's a good thing, though.
But I put out this thumbnail and I thought, ooh, this is a good one. People are going to click out. It's flopped. The video is doing terrible.
yeah, but for now.
Yeah, for now.
But
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
I've had videos that I put out and they set flat and they do nothing and they lay dormant for I've had it like a year or a year and a half. And then all of a sudden I'll notice, man, there's a comment on that video where I drove up that trail in Colorado a year and a half ago. And then there's another comment that'll pop up. And then I notice a bunch of comments and I'll go and look at it and it's got like another 100,000 views in the past week and a half.
Yeah. Why do you think that happens?
I was gonna say, how come it can set that so long? Because it seems like everything I've seen with anything that we've ever done.
Do you just think the
If
right
it
person
sets-
shares it?
Of course, we haven't been doing things maybe real long, but just in anything, even
Yeah.
other people's stuff, it's like after the first week or two, it's done what it's going to do.
Getting
Yeah.
cold.
I think that part of it is influenced by the time of year. So the one video that I just referenced was shot at Rocky Mountain National Park. I released that. It was one of the first videos that I did. I released it. It went flat, did nothing. Of course, that was early in the channel too. But when vacation season rolled around the next year,
Wow.
that's when it picked up.
Huh.
So people were probably
searching
and looking for places to go on vacation. They're going YouTube. We're going to Rocky Mountain National Park. Look, here's this dumb bearded redneck going up this trail. What is this about?
When did you do the video?
That one would have been in the summer of 2019.
Okay. It's interesting because Rocky Mountain, they closed the park. Like you can't even drive through it.
Now?
For a certain part of the year.
Oh,
they
yeah.
shut it down because of snow. And,
yeah.
And if people aren't going there, they're not going to be looking it up.
Yeah. So it's seasonal too. For me and my channel, summer seems to be when it peaks. I'll also hit some peaks around Christmas time. When the weather's getting cold and people are staying inside a little bit more and watching YouTube, it'll kind of peak out. But I think I've kind of wandered off a little bit from your original question. But yeah, patience is a big thing.
How many videos do you have backlogged right now?
I'm about out of content right now.
Yeah.
I've got
Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah.
I've got probably about 8 right now.
Yeah.
So I've got about 4 weeks left in me before I got to start.
So are you ever tempted to be like, I'm just going to go locally and find something?
I've done that. So again, here's another stupid story about how unpredictable YouTube is. One of the most successful videos that I did was at a place called Hunter Dawson. Okay, now this is not a knock on Hunter Dawson or anything like that. It's an old home that was an old antebellum home, so it's built before the Civil War. It's a great place. My aunt used to work there. Went there, beautiful place. I filmed the video. Usually, what does good on my channel is any kind of content connected with violence.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a house tour,
Yeah.
and they did it. The people there were great, loved it. All right. I put it out, and I thought, well, maybe somebody will be interested in it. It's history. That thing took off and has been one of the best videos that I've ever put out. And,
Really?
and it makes me so happy because it's funneling people to that site.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what really enthuses me. But yeah, it's unpredictable.
Huh.
Is there anything worth doing a history underground in Southern Illinois that you know about?
Yeah.
What's around here? That
What
we
is
could,
it? Fort.
maybe we could get on site with you and walk around.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Fort Massac.
Yeah, Fort Massac.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Massac
one.
County? Is that where that's at?
You all aren't too far from the boyhood home of Abraham Lincoln over in Indiana.
Right. Right.
So that's another one.
What about what was the used to be down there south of you guys? Was it it used to be a place that
Oh, you're talking about the Crenshaw house.
the Crenshaw House, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an
Is
old
it's
slave
gone,
home.
isn't it?
Oh,
No, it's still there.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
The house
oh,
is?
now see that it's an old slave quarters.
Yes.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean
Yeah, that would be interesting.
It's where, other than, well, it supposedly is where one of the stud slaves, he was used as a stud
Yeah.
slave. It's supposedly where the Guinness record for that is at. Like he had, man, it was like 1,500 kids or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Need to look
Yeah.
into that, JD.
And
Get the facts.
below the house is entirely like it's set up like, I mean, it's terrible, like reprehensible, but it's set up almost like stalls to
like
where
dungeony
yeah.
stalls. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I've never been there. Have
So-
you been there?
Yeah, I've been there. I went
So-
there when I was a
Been there?
kid.
So that
It's closed now.
that's the kind of stuff. Oh, you can't get into it now?
Well, you might be able to. Like the state closed it because they didn't want to recognize it as a historical, like a good place.
It used to be marked when you drive.
Oh,
down
yeah.
through
But see,
there
here's the deal:
short.
is not all history has to be good.
Yeah.
And that I kind of like covering that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on my channel about the Third Reich.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, good.
But
Right.
but it shows you just the depths that humanity can
Right.
dive to, and it shows you what people are capable of. And if they were capable of it 80 years ago, or 160 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, they're capable of it now.
Right. If moral decay and whatever creeps in, people resort back. They don't, it's
Yeah.
What about the I'm thinking of Southern Illinois still. What about the Sheltons and the Harrisons and all that stuff?
Yeah. There's
Pretty
a lot to
interesting.
that.
Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Huge Wayne County had a huge, what do you call them, gangster type presence.
Oh,
Have you ever
really?
considered the
Yeah.
gangster stuff?
Yes.
My
I've got some ideas.
my grandpa, I wish I could, I wonder where it's at. My grandpa has lots of, or he's passed away and gone now, but he had, and it's probably somewhere, talk to the right people, might find it if it was preserved, but he had lots of information because he grew up a quarter mile from the Shelton house where they hung out.
Interesting.
He would tell us stories,
Well-
they would come back from East St. Louis and I forget what they bootlegged, if it was alcohol or
See, I think it was Charlie Berger who flew like a crop plane down to the Sheltons and dropped a bomb on them. And it was the first bomb that had ever been dropped in the U.S.
from an airplane.
Yes.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, my grandpa had all the documents of all the people they killed. Like he said, they were great neighbors, but
Yeah.
you just didn't do them wrong.
There's a saying
Instead
that
of coming down and chewing you out, they showed up and killed you.
And even now, the family's here. Like,
wow.
yeah, I mean,
descendants.
the
and stuff.
descendants of 'em.
Blackie is it
Blackie Harris.
Blackie Harris?
Yeah. My dad met Blackie.
My-
So my grandpa, like not the same grandpa as before, but my mom's dad, he was on the jury that convicted Blackie and sent him to prison. And Blackie vowed to come back and kill them all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was told that he was not supposed to be ever to come back to Wayne County.
Wow.
Like that was part of the whole deal.
But he got out and died from old age, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in Florida.
And he came back, but he came back here.
Yeah.
Like my dad was a repairman who was doing, refrigerator repairs, doing, washing machine repairs and stuff. And he was at a house somewhere around Boogerville. And he said,
that's some history right there.
Yeah, boy.
There is a place in Wayne County called Boogerville.
Yeah. And he said he was working on some appliance and he looked into the back room and he's like, I know who that guy is.
Yeah.
Yep. And he said, sure enough, somebody referenced, hey, Charlie,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
His nickname was Blackie, and they say supposedly killed gobs of people.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that all history is local.
That's
so
true.
you start getting into that local history. And again, this is something that I'm able to do on a YouTube channel. That other people are able to do on the YouTube platform that you can't do other places. There's good for everything. But digging into some of that local history and some of that stuff that's really kind of niche, like this, people find that interesting because people like to know things that they don't know. They want to know what's around the corner and what's underneath the underneath the cover there.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
So I guess if I was a listener and I listened and I was thinking, man, I would love, because everybody, especially young people, you hear them, you ask them, they ask us what we wanted to be, and we wanted to be firemen and police officers and stuff like. Now you ask, I've heard young kids say, I want to be a YouTuber.
Oh,
it's number one, I think.
Yeah.
Is it number one?
Yep.
So wow, them here, ain't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's what I want to be.
Yeah. We're working at it, right? But
when I grow up.
So those people that say, I would love to be a YouTuber and create content and somehow maybe one day be monetized and make my living at doing that, you're saying you got to be patient. You got to be consistent,
yeah,
consistently putting stuff out. And is that the big one, or is it like you got to be good? It's got to be good,
No, there's a lot of bad content that makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I'll look at and I'll be like, who is watching this?
There's
but there are
videos of those people that open toys. I'm like, what in the world?
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah.
So
I saw a clip the other day, or a video the other day, had 20 million views, and this girl was opening up those eggs to see what toys were inside of it.
Yeah.
20 million views.
Yeah. So kind of along with the patience, what people are seeing on the YouTube channel now, they look at it and see that it has grown to 600,000 subscribers. And what you're seeing is kind of the tip of the iceberg. You're not seeing
all the work that went in.
You're not seeing the 20 years that I put in prior to that, doing other things and not making money at anything.
None of it.
Yeah.
Spending it. Just spending.
Yeah. So the days that we did Three Timbers Outdoors, Hallowed Ground Outdoors, those were great times.
Oh,
and had some great experiences. I mean, people want to get on YouTube and, become the next Mr. Beast and make $1 billion. There's a whole lot of years of not making anything.
Yeah.
So there was a whole lot. There was a whole lot of foundation building before the YouTube thing even started.
But let me ask you that question though. 2019, you started with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you get a check from them?
Oh boy. So if I remember correctly, the threshold for monetization is 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours within 12 months.
Yeah, that's what it used to be anyway.
Yeah. if it's changed, I haven't checked on it because it doesn't really apply to me
You're
anymore.
bigger than that now.
No, I think it's less.
It,
Like
it
I
may
think it
be.
has. They have like a pre.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
may be. And I don't remember the first.
Yeah.
I mean, the first year.
It was within the first year. Yes.
Yeah.
That happened. But so yeah, you have to be patient. You have to have a work ethic.
Yeah.
I'll have people that will say, so they're seeing the fruits of the labor, and I've had some amazing opportunities to travel to some cool places, and people will look at that and they'll say, "Man, that must be nice," and it is. It is. I don't want to say that it's not.
But it's a work trip when you're going.
It is a work trip, which is why my family typically doesn't go with me because it's so painful.
Yeah.
And but then I'll ask, okay, when you got home from work today, what'd you do? I'm like, well, I made dinner and sat and watched TV and things like that. And I'll look at that and say, must be nice.
Yeah.
I came home and I worked another 8 hours.
Yeah.
Doing whatever. And then I think that if you go into it with the goal of becoming a YouTube star and making money and things like that, that's an inwardly focused goal. And I think that people, and this isn't just with YouTube, I think this is with anything. I think that you're better served shifting your focus in thinking about what can I do to serve others well?
Yeah.
What can I contribute that is going to make the world around me a little bit better place? That's what I'm trying to do with the channel.
Yeah.
Is put content out there that's going to engage people with history, get them interested. So I'm trying to provide a service. In my mind, what I'm trying to do, whether it's what I'm actually doing or not, I don't know.
I would say you are.
Well,
I would say some aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say many YouTubers probably aren't.
Yeah.
They've got something that's somebody's niche that they love to watch.
And I'll tell you what,
but yours is educational.
We saw that in the hunting industry. And I'm sure it's still that way. I was part of that. Yeah. When we started making the hunting DVDs, you get this idea like, man, I would love to get free this. I would love to get free that. I would love to get paid to, do all this stuff. And it's all, so this was me that was doing this. It was all about, what can you do to serve me that will allow me to do the things that I want to do?
Yeah.
Well, rather than building something and then saying, okay, here's what I've worked. Here's what I've worked to build. What can I do to serve you and, help you out, or to help you build something.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense or not. That ended up kind of being some word salad from me, but
no, I think it makes sense. It's like, I've done all this work. It was hard. I put my heart and soul into it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be a part of it, my goal would be that what I've done, you can tie yourself to it, and hopefully it'll help you too.
Yeah.
Like in the hunting industry, if you're going to get a sponsor from an archery, a bow, they're going to give you a bow, maybe even money, but you have to have something good enough. And also you want your, whatever you've done, to promote them.
Yeah. Well,
and you're saying some people are like, if you would give me something, I'll do something. Kind of the different mentality.
Exactly. So I had a clothing brand reach out to me just this last week. They saw me wearing their product on a bunch of the episodes, and they were thrilled about it. And they were like, hey, is there, maybe an opportunity to work together? So there, I was already doing something that was kind of soft selling their product. I never, name dropped them or anything like that. Just wore their stuff. But they were like, oh, okay, here's somebody who can help us. They're not showing up with their hand out looking for what they can get from us.
It's a totally different relationship, when someone reaches
Yeah,
to you.
but at the
talks
same
to you.
time, you if you're running a business,
But there's
Yeah,
elements that what you have is of value too.
Yeah, I think that's
And
100%.
yeah, I mean, they're coming to you for a reason.
yeah.
And
So
all that being said, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they are.
no, I
But-
thought that was great.
Yeah.
But if
So I also want to give you an opportunity, because I know we're running short on time. We're getting close.
yeah, sure.
I want to give you an opportunity to make any kind of plugs you want for sponsors as well. People that sponsor your page or pages that you would be like, if you love history, check out this, or
Yeah, I mean, Gettysburg Museum of History has been so good to the channel. You know what? The channel would not be where it is without the Gettysburg Museum of History. There have been so many connections that I've been able to make through Eric Dorr, and things places we've been able to go that it simply would not have happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I always thought Eric was like, I'm a huge Pawn Stars fan, and I'm sure that he is probably not. But I always loved whenever he was on there. Like, I enjoyed when he was on there.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that the guy loved history.
Yeah.
And he had a great knowledge of it.
Yeah.
And because of that, as someone who enjoys history as well, like I always loved when he was on there because he always brought really unique stuff.
We get a lot of comments on the channel and questions about his days on Pawn Stars, and we need to do an episode on that one day with him talking about what it was like behind the scenes, because it's pretty darn interesting. I've talked to him about it quite a bit.
Everybody I know who knows very much about Pawn Stars says it's drastically different than what you see.
Yes. So here's the short version of what he has told me about the Pawn Stars experience. Obviously, there's a whole lot of production things.
Sure.
There's a decent amount that's kind of staged. So when Rick says, "Hey, let me call a buddy," he's not.
His buddy's in the back room.
His buddy's in the back room waiting to come in. But the negotiation part, where they're negotiating the price, that's all real.
Yeah.
Like what you are seeing is happening in real time. None of that is made up or prearranged.
So I've bought a couple things off of Pawn Stars. One of them is the mug that James is drinking out of. And I also bought a camera off of Pawn Stars.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I bought a camera, and I saw it there, and I was like, man, I've got to have that. And we kind of went back and forth on a price, and I ended up getting it, and I kept it for a little while and sold it. Like I did good on it. I paid $86 for it, and I sold it for just over $400.
You weren't on the show,
right?
I was not on the show.
Did you talk to anybody that's on the show, or
Or
did you deal with somebody other than? I didn't know if day to day, if they're in there working, or if they're only in there working when they're filming.
I think they're just in there when they're filming.
Well, there are some guys in there that, like, there's some definitely secondary people that I've talked to that were on the show, but like they're
briefly
background people.
See them back
and
there,
then the
something
well, and then the great big African American fellow that sits at the door, he was there one time.
Oh, okay.
Cool beans.
Yeah. I told him I wasn't stealing anything.
Yeah. So the Gettysburg
Museum of History.
Big help to the show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It wouldn't be where it's at without them. Yeah.
Do you have any actual sponsors for the show?
Gettysburg Museum of History.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously I feel like I know where that's at. But I'd tell people where it's at. So when they're going through there, just make sure they stop and check it out.
Yeah, right there on Baltimore Street, right in the middle of town, right by where Lincoln walked when he was delivering on his way to deliver the Gettysburg Address.
Is Eric there on the day-to-day?
Ish. Yeah.
Okay.
So is it open most all the time during the day? Working hours, business hours?
Tuesday through Sunday.
Sunday.
They're closed on Mondays.
Stop by there and check it out.
Yeah. It's an incredible collection. It's mind blowing.
Very cool, man.
Is that it?
Man, I can't thank you enough for
Yeah.
coming and stopping in.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't too choppy, and hopefully there's something of value in all of that.
Oh, it's
Who
there.
would have thought years ago when Wes said, "Watch this video," and there's this guy sitting next to a tree giving turkey hunting advice or tips. I think it was tips. You guys did tips, didn't you?
We may have.
Yeah, you did tips.
You
Like,
guys were gifted in the turkeys, and we were the deer hunting. guys.
Yeah.
like in between.
Yeah, we laid down some
Like in
turkeys.
between
Yeah.
hunts, you would do sometimes
yeah,
like a
yeah.
tip.
Yeah.
And here's JD. I didn't know. Yeah, here's JD sitting against this tree with his turkey vest on, and he's talking about turkey hunting. And you did so good because it was so clean and so crisp. You would talk about something, you'd be like, digging in your turkey vest, like this is
Oh,
the
my.
normal every day.
Oh.
And that's the first time I remember seeing you. And then of course we met at shows, and then
Yeah.
we've even hunted together and did different things like that. But I was like, who would have thought?
Not me.
Who would have thought? Just a happy little mistake, and now you're a internet sensation, YouTuber,
Superstar.
and we're just glad to get
Changing
to know
the
you.
world one video at a time.
Changing the world 3 videos a week. Yeah, 2 to 3.
All right.
That's awesome.
Again, we thank you.
No,
Doug,
thank you guys.
we want to thank you as well. We appreciate you every time you come on.
Very
Doug's
well.
always good to make sure that conversation flowing. This time he sat pretty quiet, but
Oh, you guys held your own on this one. I didn't feel I had to step in too often.
Man, I guess you were kind of quiet, Doug.
Yeah, it's
So
unusual. I know.
JD must have a Doug soothing effect.
Yeah, it's like mesmerizing. I
Yeah,
can't
that-
explain it.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. There just
It's
aren't
like-
many of those out there.
it's like the snake charmer.
Yeah. Doug sitting over there going.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry. We thank you, Doug, for coming on. We thank you, James,
Yeah.
for drinking
good
coffee,
work.
drinking our coffee, and sitting behind the computer doing that stuff, because that makes this also work on this end that
100%.
makes it more watchable.
That's right. So this was episode 11 or 10. 10, right?
10, I believe so.
10. All right. Make sure you guys check out History Underground on YouTube. Make sure you go and subscribe there and subscribe on our channel. I think we're getting up close to 38 viewers or subscribers now.
Yeah. Go on JD's channel and tell him you want a T-shirt with his face on it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
The world needs that.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Until episode 11, we'll see you next time. Peace out.
Bye-bye.